Hello everyone, my name is Jeff Cronin. I'm the librarian at New England College of Business, and I want to welcome you to the NECB community. This evening I'm going to be talking to you about the eLibrary at the college, and the way to access the library is by way of Canvas, which you will have access to. Over here on the left-hand navigation bar, this is the Information Literacy for College Success course that I teach to undergraduates. Over here on the left-hand navigation bar in Canvas, you will see a link to the library. Regardless of what page you happen to be on in your course, there will always be this left-hand navigation bar. You click on the link NECB eLibrary and it will bring you over into the library. And what I want to do in this webinar is to show you how the library is designed and to talk to you about some of the most heavily used resources and services that we offer. I can't make you experts at the library in such a short period of time. That's what we ask for you to contact us if you need some help at the reference desk, but I want you to leave at least having a good understanding of how the library is designed as well as some of the databases you may be using. So this is the home page of the library that you'll always be brought to, and I'll come back to this and look at this and show you this in detail, but just briefly, this is a page which shows some of the most heavily used databases as well as tools up here. Take a look at this banner here and you'll see these various links. Now let me just show you what you can find at each one. Click on A to Z databases. This is all the databases that we offer at the library. We have over 40 databases. Each one, for each one, there's a link to the database with a brief description of what it contains. Now, you're certainly welcome to peruse this list and pick a database and do your research in that. An excellent reference question, though, is to, when you contact the reference desk, is ask, what database would I go into? I'm doing research on this particular topic, and we can guide you to which database you want to use. If you click on Browse Resources, the next tab, what we have here is a list of approximately 24 subjects that are taught here at the college. We'll be adding ones for quality management very shortly, and as well as one for social entrepreneurship. But for every subject here, there is a list of recommended databases, journals, as well as websites that can be used for doing research in that particular subject. So for example, if you clicked business ethics, you'll see a list of recommended databases for doing research in business ethics, a list of top full-text journals that we have in our databases on business ethics, as well as a list of recommended websites for doing research in business ethics. And the same applies to all these other different subjects. So that's through the Browse Resources tab. Tutorials, we have numerous tutorials, a growing collection of tutorials for how to use our different databases here. Most are very short. Some of them are PDFs, so most of them are very short videos running between 1 and 5 minutes. Writing tools, we have some writing information in here on information literacy. easyBib is the current citation tool that we use at NECB. Just so you're aware, we were informed recently by easyBib that they will no longer be offering an institutional subscription to colleges and universities, and it will be ending in July. So we are quickly trying to identify one or more replacement services to replace easyBib. But if you want to use eBib, in the meantime, we will have this up through July. This is how it's a free account. You just need to register for it, and the instructions here, you have to register and use that coupon code, NECB. Further down the page here is information on APA, plagiarism. We have down here, we have an eLibrary Award for Research. Since 2012, at commencement, we have been giving out awards for the best research papers that our students have submitted, and these have been nominated by faculty members. So you're certainly welcome to take a look at these. There's PDFs, they're examples of some of the best work that our students have done in the past. Then we have APA resources. Again, it's a repeat of what we have in the writing tools, but just repeating about easyBib as well as the NECB eLibrary APA Quick Guide and APA citations here. eLibrary Help. I think this may be the most important page at the library, and we offer 3 types of reference assistance. One is reference assistance for me as the librarian, and to communicate with me is by way of this form. Just type in your question. Please try to give me a little bit more information. Sometimes it's not too obvious what you need from just the question. Your email address, your name, and whether it's reference or whether it's technical assistance, reference being research help. Submit your question and I'll get back to you very quickly. Sometimes answers are better addressed by phone rather than email, or sometimes I set up a one-on-one webinar, particularly if it's a rather complicated research question. So in any case, I will try to help you with your problem. We also offer 24/7 online librarian support. This is a service that we license with professional librarians, and regardless of whether it's 8 o'clock in the morning or it's 3 o'clock in the morning, if you click chat here, you'll be connected with in a live chat session with a professional librarian, and at the end of the session you'll get a transcript of your chat session with that librarian. So please use this service. The last reference service that we offer is a database. We brought this online about a year ago, and it's a searchable database. It currently has a little under 300 questions and answers in it, and these are commonly asked questions and answers. answers. And what you might want to do first is just to query this database and see if perhaps the question that you have is one that's similar to what has been asked in the past, because the answer may be here. So for example, if you were looking for financial ratios, you could just type in the question, where are financial ratios? You could just type in the words financial ratios, and it will search the database for questions where those words happen to be either in the text of the questions or the answers. So there's a couple. Where can I find industry financial ratios? How can I find ratios for my company over time? Let's pick the first one. And what you'll get is you get the question and you get the answer. And the answer happens to be that it's in the IBIS World database, which I'm going to show you in a little while. You just click on here. That will bring you over that database's A to Z page, and just go down to IBIS World, and you can do your research in there and find those financial ratios. So that's another way of being able to identify where to go if you're trying to find out information. So let's go back to the home page. I said I was going to bring you back there and go in more in depth. I want to show you these three tabs up here first before we start looking at some databases. There are three different ways here to do research, and I want to show you first searching journals. So if you use this tab here, we have over 20,000 full-text journals at the library and spread over numerous databases. These can be academic, or also called scholarly journals. It could be trade industry publications. It could be magazines, newspapers. If we didn't have this particular search tool, you would be forced to go from database to database trying to see if we happen to have a particular publication. What you could do in here, though, is you can type in the name of a particular journal. Let's say you're looking for Harvard Business Review. You could type in Harvard Business Review and click Browse. And what it will do is it will bring you to the search results. We'll list all the databases where Harvard Business Review is available full text at the library. So it's important to, when you go through this list, look at the date range, because it may vary. So the database which has the longest coverage from 1922, which actually is when it started publishing, to present, is in the Business Source Complete database. So if you click on here, this will bring you into the database where Harvard Business Review. It happens to be in a database called EBSCO Business Source Complete, which I'm going to show you in a little while. An outstanding database. It is over here on the right-hand side. You will see a list from 2018 all the way down to 1922. The entire run of Harvard Business Review is in here. You could say, 2014. You could pick any one of those issues. Let's say September. And you'll see the articles that were in there, and you can pick any one that you like. So that's, you could also, if you wanted to, you could do a search within Harvard Business Review. So that's how to use what they call the Gold Rush feature, which is there. Another way is to do search Google Scholar. Now, some of you may have heard of Google Scholar. I mean, I'm sure everyone's heard of Google, but Google Scholar is another search engine offered by Google, which searches only scholarly material on the web. And I use it sometimes in addition to library databases. It's a very interesting tool, and sometimes it gives me good results. One thing I want to strongly recommend that you do if you're going to use Google Scholar is not to use it outside of the library, but rather to use it inside the library, because we devised a way about a little over a year ago of having Google Scholar sync or speak with our library databases. One of the troubling things about using Google Scholar outside of the library, it will retrieve articles from academic journals, it will conference papers, doctoral dissertations. But what is frustrating is sometimes in the search results it will say it's not available full text, but in fact it's available in our databases. And so let me show you an example of this. We go outside of the library and we do a Google search here, and I just say Google Scholar, because I can't recall what the URL is, but I don't need to. I just do that, click this, and I want to run a search in here, and I'm going to excuse me, I'm going to type in Six Sigma, and I'm going to put it in quotes because I want Google to read it as a phrase, and I'm also going to type in hospitals and hit enter. And when I go down here, you'll see a number of these are available full text, and I go down here, but I see all this white. Now it could very well be that these articles are available full text in our library, but if you were to click on this one here, for example, the addressing variation in hospital quality is Six Sigma the answer. It looks like it appears in the Journal of Healthcare Management. You click on this, and what it'll do is it will come here and it's going to say to buy this article. It is, if you're not a subscriber, you can. It's not available full text to you. Okay, so let's go into the library and let's repeat this search, and let's do Google Scholar, and we're going to do the same thing, and hospitals search, and you will see by running it through the library, all of a sudden you're starting to see things like this. It means that Google Scholar is talking with our library databases. So whereas before they were not going to provide the full text to you, here if we click on this, we now get it full text because it's going to bring you into the ProQuest database, which is one of the databases we have at the library. And there is the article, and you could just click on download PDF. So my advice to you, if you want to use Google Scholar, and I use it all the time, is running the search through the library. Don't do it outside the library because you're going to be losing out on the opportunity to pick up a lot of full text articles. Now there's another feature we have which is called Search All Databases, and it's powered by this company called Deep Web, very cutting edge, what they call federated search or global search over library databases. When you do research in databases, you have a couple of options available to you. You can do your research in one particular database, and there's a lot of advantages to that. Or you could do a search over more than one database, and you could do a search over more than one database by way of this search feature. And what I would recommend if you're going to do a search with Deep Web is to go do an advanced search. Because with an advanced search you have more power, you have more functions available to you. And once this loads, let me show you an example of what you can do. So I'm going to, what you can see over here on the right hand side is a list of all the databases we have. Which is, and you could, if you wanted to, you could run a search over all those databases. I would recommend that you be a little more selective, and what I would do is, and if you mouse over, by the way, if you mouse over the different databases, it will tell you what databases to use. This is an excellent reference question, by the way. If you wanted to run a search over more than one database, ask me and say, what databases do you think I should use? I don't want to run it over more than 3 or 4. What you want to do is unclick this, and you could say, well, I want to run it over the EBSCO Business Source Complete database, and I think I want to run it over maybe the ABI, this ProQuest database, and I think that's enough. Those two together. And what I'm going to do is I can go in here, I can say just a very simple search. I can say total quality management. You want to put it in quotes because it'll read us together. So total quality. So I'll bring back every single article that deals with total quality management. And I could say limit full text. Most of our databases, like the EBSCO Business Source Complete database and ProQuest, about 80% of the databases are full text. The other 20% are not. What those articles, when you get search results, it'll show you a citation of the article and an abstract. If you ever happen to come across, excuse me, an article that is just a citation and an abstract, and it looks really interesting, send me a reference. Send me an email at the reference desk, and I'll see if I can try to get it for you. And I think my track record is about by 90-95% of the time I can usually get it from another institution. So if you don't be discouraged by the fact it's not full text, I might be able to help you. I'm just going to run on total quality management, but I would probably suggest that you combine this with airlines or hospitals or government or any one other term. But just to show you how this works, click search. And we could limit by date range too. We could have said the last 2012 to 2017. But again, I'm just going to, just for demonstration purposes, to show how this works. And we've got about 1,449 articles. Clearly, we would have wanted to narrow it by date and maybe thrown in another search term, and that those results would have been lower. But in any case, this is what you get. And there's an algorithm that Deep Web uses, which retrieves what the algorithm regards as the best hits. And those hits are based on maybe how many times the search terms that you've entered appear in the article, where they are, whether in the title or the abstract, the proximity between, if you used total quality management and hospitals, how close those terms were to each other, and it will retrieve what it deems to be the best results. So you can go down through here, any one of these ones, and you can just click on the title, and it'll bring up the full text of the article. So so this is a a tool, this search all databases, that you have an option to use if you want to search over all our databases. So let me now that I've shown you those three tabs, let me show you some of the databases. And the first database that I'd like to show you is this EBSCO Business Source Complete database. This, in my opinion, is probably the best business article database on the market today. It is one that is used at every major business school library in the United States. Harvard Business School, Stanford, Chicago. This is what their MBA students use. If you go in here, you will find a search page. You'll be brought to this, and here you have a number of options available to you. And what I would suggest is to leave it on search, select a field. Now select a field, when you type the search term here, you select a field, you're telling the database, I want you to search over the many millions of articles in your database where these words appear either in the title of the article or the abstract of the article or one of the subject headings, because every single article in this database is tagged with subject headings, and I'll show you them in a minute. So let's say, for example, that we wanted to search on total quality management. And I'm going to leave it on select a field, and I'm also going to put in hospitals, because that's going to retrieve far too much. So let's say hospitals. Now you are aware that when you do research, a very good practice is, I've done this for years, is to have a notebook nearby and to keep track of the search term. First of all, the databases that you used, and also the search terms you use. Because if you were doing research on total quality management in hospitals, hospitals isn't the only word that could be used. It could be healthcare facilities, it could be acute care, it could be nursing homes, it could be just a wide range of different terms. And you want to keep track of those as far as you go from database to database to make sure that you're not repeating your work. So I want to say total quality management. I say hospitals. I could, if I wanted to, limit to just full text. I'm not going to do that in this case. I could limit it just to scholarly publications. Scholarly publications are academic research publications. And by not clicking on this, I'm going to get articles that appear maybe in magazines or trade industry publications. You can see, if you go down further, you can see there's other features here. You can limit by language, for example. But I'm going to just do a broad search. I always think it's a good idea to go broad and then narrow. So let's see what we get in this first pass. So I've got 359 articles on total quality management and hospitals. And a couple of things here. Now we could, if we wanted to, we could click on full text, and that would cut that 359 to a smaller number, and I'll do that in a second. We could, if we wanted to, also, you'll see 1973 to 2017, it turns out that when this search was run, that the articles displayed, these 359, range from these dates. So we could say, well, 1973 is a little bit dated. We could say, let's cut this to 2010. And you could also, rather than typing in the date, you can also take this little bar and move it across. But I'm going to say 2010, hit enter, and that's going to cut it down to 99. And I can also, if I wanted to, click on full text, and that will reduce it down further. One thing I would suggest when you're looking at the search results in this database is a few things. Go to Page Options and click on Detailed. And what it's going to do is going to give you more information about each one of the articles, so you don't have to keep opening each one up to see what it's about. You can also, it annoys me to have to keep scrolling through the pages, so I usually change this to 50. So it requires fewer going from page to page. Now, as you go through here and doing research, this database retrieved these particular articles because the words total quality management appeared either in the title of the article, appeared in the abstract here, or it was one of the subject headings. I would suggest, if you're doing research on total quality management, pay very careful attention to vocabulary, to the search terms that are used, and also pay attention to the subject headings that are assigned to the article. Now, total quality management doesn't happen to be used in the title of the article, is it? And it's not even, I don't even see it in the the body of the abstract. However, the fact that a subject heading was assigned to it for total quality management means this article is substantially about total quality management. So what you could do, if you wanted to, as you go through here, take a look at the other terms that are applied to this. Total quality management is applied to so many of these. What I would do is go back in here, and you could change this if you wanted to, and you could say, I only want articles in which the words total quality management appear in the subject headings. And so change that, and let's see what happens. And we get 2,100. So there are over 2,100 articles that are in this database published from 2010 to 2017 that is substantially about total quality management. Now, what I would suggest if you were doing research on this, you would combine this then with some additional term in here. Oh, and you can also, if you want, you can change the date range. You can change it to scholarly publications. There are a number of options available to you. One last thing I want to show you in this database is the thesaurus. And as I pointed out earlier about vocabulary, it's very important to use the right terms, and many times there's no one term that you a search term that you want to use. Sometimes there's numerous terms. You want to do a good comprehensive search. The thesaurus is a really good place to go as far as identifying additional terms. So for example, if you typed in let's try total quality management here and see what it gives us. And I could say begins with, contains. I usually begins with, but sometimes I'll change it to contains to see if I get better results and see what happens here. And I click on this, and here is what's called a scope note. It means this is the database's definition of what they mean by total quality management. But if you go down through here, sometimes you'll see additional narrower terms, broader terms, related terms, and you can click on these links and it'll bring you to additional terms. And I would strongly recommend that you note down some of these terms and you go back and repeat your search using some of these alternative terms and see what sort of results you get. So that's the EBSCO Business Source Complete database I wanted to show you. And another one to show you is called ProQuest Central. Now, whereas Business Source Complete is a business database, ProQuest Central is what's called a multidisciplinary database. It's actually a database of databases. There are over 30 databases in it. And when you open up that database and you decide to do research in it, you have a couple of options available to you. You could first of all, I would not recommend doing a basic search like this. This will bring back like 5.5 million hits if you type in the word credit cards or something like that. I would suggest that you do an advanced search, and here you have more power as far as being able to, limit it to certain parts of the document. Here, if you wanted to, if you typed in, say, total quality management, and let's say, let's say Six Sigma. Let's do something different. Let's say Six Sigma, and you can let's put this in quotes so it reads it as a phrase, and I'm going to say I want Six Sigma in the document title, so that is the article title, and I'm going to say full text, and let's say I don't want all dates. I want something you can say after this date or last 12 months, let's say last 3 years. And you'll see down the page here, we've got more options available to you by language, whether you want it to conference papers or articles. I'm just going to not click any of those, and just going to do a broad search, and then I can narrow it down if I choose. Click search, and let's see what we get. And you get 661 articles. So, and these are all full text, and they were published within the last 3 years. And over here on the left-hand side, you'll see there are 146 from scholarly journals. If I click on that, that will redisplay the results to just 146. So that's how you do. And if you want it, you just click on full text. It'll bring up the article. One thing I want to show you, I mentioned earlier, this is a database of databases. What you can do, rather than running a search over all 30 databases within this big database, is you can go to Change Databases. And here, what you'll see is a list of all the databases in the database. So what you could do if you wanted to, you could say, well, if you were taking an accounting class, for example, you could unclick them all and say, I just want to run a search in the accounting collection, or there's other collections down here. You just the brief descriptions. Really an outstanding selection of databases. There, you select databases, and you can run your search. And I would recommend an advanced search in the accounting, tax, and banking collection. So it's a much more specialized way. And there's also another one for psychology and numerous other different subjects. But this is, I think, sometimes a better way of using this database is picking the particular database within ProQuest Central that allows you to do better searching. So let me close out of that, and let me show you some books. So we've got three collections of ebooks here at the library, and all three, I'm going to go over to this page, the A to Z databases, and one is called Books 24/7, which is right there, and that is about 35,000 ebooks, videos. About 28,000 of those are books, very strong in business. Another one's called eBook Central. This is a multidisciplinary database, so it covers a wide range of subject areas, and that over 100,000 is being modest. It's actually over 170,000. And down here is one called Gale Virtual Reference. So which is a collection of reference sources. So let me go up to the first one, Books 24/7, and there are a couple of ways for you to do research in this database, and these are all full text books. You could, if you want, you can browse topics over here. You'll see quality and manufacturing management. There's a number of other different categories. And if you click on this here, you'll Lean Initiatives, Six Sigma. So if you clicked on Six Sigma, it will bring up all the full text books that have been tagged under the subject heading of Six Sigma. And you go down through here. And if you click on any one of these, it'll bring up the full text of the book. Another way to do this is you can run a search up here, and we could just say Six Sigma, and this will run a search over the entire database. And again, these are all full text books. And most of them from top tier publishers. So this is a really very good database. So I would suggest Books 24/7 if you want to look for ebooks. Another database which I encourage you to try out is eBook Central, which I mentioned. And this is I would here do an advanced search. I almost always recommend doing an advanced search in databases. It just gives you more power. And in here we could just say, let's say quality management. Enter. And we've got 46 full text books on quality management. And if you want, you just click on any one of these and it'll come up full text. So that's eBook Central. And the last one I want to show you is Gale Virtual down here. As I say, these are reference books, and in here you could do a search over all these many different encyclopedias for a term. And let's say we could I'm going to do an advanced search. You can browse it by clicking as a title list, but I'm going to do an advanced search. And again, if you don't know how to use these, or you're confused by these databases, or you want to pick a database that you think, trying to identify a database to do your research, and it's a reference question, please contact me. So let's say Six Sigma, and I'm trying to see where that, the different entries on it. So it's a document title, I'm going to say. So that's the click search. And you've got where Six Sigma appears in all these different reference works. And you can do the same thing with total quality management or any one of another terms. Quality management. Let's see what we get for quality management. Quality management. And I'm going to say in document title. And this appeared, for example, in the Encyclopedia of Business and Finance. And Encyclopedia of Industrial and Organizational Psychology, and Encyclopedia of Small Business, and further down. So these are all different. If you want some basic information on quality management, this is a database where you would go. So let me close out of that, and let me show you now some databases that you would use. Oh, but let me show you one other. ProQuest Dissertations and Theses. This is a database that we just licensed very recently, and that is over here. Let me show. Actually, we have at the home page. We also have the databases A to Z, but let me go on the home page here. And go down the page, and it is right here. This is the largest database of its kind, that is a database providing full-text dissertations and theses in the world. There's over 1.4 million dissertations, and from especially in the U.S., and also Europe, but very very strong in the United States, and an outstanding place, especially if you're a doctoral student and you want to really understand the most recent information that's been published on something. I would go into this database and check it out. Again, I strongly suggest that you do an advanced search, or you can browse it too if you like. For example, if you click browse, you'll get an A to Z list of all the different subjects that these dissertations and master's theses have been tagged with. So if you're looking for, accounting policies, or looking for accountability or accident prevention, you could browse it that way. And then you're just if you're looking for, I don't know, advertising, click in here, and by country then they're displayed. It looks like there's 63 from Canada. The Canadian universities granted these master's degrees, and broken by university. So that's one way, is to browse. Another way you can do it is you can do an advanced search. And if you were, for example, looking for in here, I could say I'm looking for something on in the document title, and I'm looking for something in which the quality management appears in the title of the dissertation or thesis. We can do this here. I suggest, you'll see limit full text. I suggest that you click on full text. But of course you don't have to. I mean, if you don't click on full text, you're going to get in your search results some just citations and abstracts. Dissertations are very tricky to get from other institutions. Usually you're going to have to buy them. And I believe ProQuest, they offer a service where they'll provide the full text of it, but I think it's about $35. So just be aware that you might want to just click on full text, but that's a call that you have to make. Click on search. I'm not limiting by date. I could have done that. And quality managers might expect that's a pretty broad category. But so if I was doing an advanced search, I would have said quality management and, I don't know, and Six Sigma or some industry to narrow that down. And I also might have chosen to narrow it by date. This extends back to 1935 in this case. The first time the dissertation in this database has quality management appearing in the title was in 1935. So you just take this and drag it across to here, and then we'll cut the update. It'll cut the results from 1159 down to 730. But then I would combine with additional search terms besides quality management. So that's there. Another database that we just licensed for our incoming NGS students is Gemba Academy. There's resources in here for research purposes, but also this material in here, I understand, is also going to be used in many of your classes. So we decided to create a link to that. Because of the licensing agreement with Gemba Academy, when you go in here, you have to log in with this username and password. The rest of these are automatically authenticated into the database, but in this case, the Gemba Academy required that our students log in with these username and passwords. So just be aware of that. Let me show you a few databases now on how for if you're researching companies and industries. So one database I want to show is called IBIS World. This is an outstanding database which is found at every top business school in the country. We licensed 2 collections of the IBIS World database. One is U.S. industry reports and one is U.S. specialized industry reports. Now you could, if you wanted, you could run a keyword search over both of them, or you can also browse them. And let me show you how to do it both ways. So let's say, for example, you're doing some research on the credit card industry. You could type in the word credit card, hit enter, and what it will do is it will bring back the industry reports, which are most likely be of use to you if you were doing research on the credit card industry, such as credit card issuing, credit card processing. And you would click on credit card issuing, and it would bring up the report. And I'll show you an example of a report in a second, but let me show you how to browse too. So let's go back to home, and let's go into the U.S. industry reports collection. And in here, you can browse by industry sector, or you can also do it by NAICS code. NAICS, as you may know, stands for North American Industrial Classification System. It's a classification system for organizing industries, and you don't need to know the numbers, but because the name of the industry is displayed here also. But let's say you're just going down here and these are all separate industries, and each one of these industry reports run about 40 to 60 pages, and they're updated quite frequently. And you can see we have over 1,350 industries here. And let's say if we are interested in doing research on retail trade, and let's say you're interested in shoe stores. Click on shoe stores. And this is the report for shoe stores in the U.S. And regardless of what industry you've chosen, all of the reports have a similar format. You can read them online. You can click the PDF. It'll produce a PDF of all this information. Or you can read it online, as I say. You can go down here. This is about this industry, so it's basic information. A lot of the data here is not publicly available. Industry at a glance. Current data on the industry as a whole. So you've got segment data there. You have industry performance. You will notice from time to time when you're doing this online, that's one of the benefits of reading it online rather than producing the PDF, is these little green buttons. Click on that and it will export the data from this into Excel for you. Industry outlook. Products and markets. I had a student not too long ago who did a Google search and was looking for an IBISWorld report and wondered whether we have this database. And they charge $595 for each one of these reports, which is remarkable. But then you're not paying $595. It's resources the library licenses. Major companies. So Foot Locker's got a market share of 13.5%. Is Claris, DSW. Operating conditions. And key statistics. And this page, this key statistics, is particularly helpful, I think, because it gives you data on the industry as a whole, so revenue, employment, wages, annual change, key ratios. Down the bottom here, if you're analyzing a company and you've calculated ratios for that company and you want to see how those ratios compare to industry ratios, this data here comes from something called RMA, Robert Morris Associates. It's a heavily used source by commercial lenders when they're evaluating applications by companies applying for debt. And these ratios are very, very helpful. So, and you can all these ratios you can export to Excel. And there's also very helpful little videos embedded in here that will show you how to use this database. So that's IBISWorld, and I just want to show you quickly one of the database, and this is called Mergent Online. And if you click on Mergent Online, Mergent Online is a database for doing research on companies, especially publicly held corporations. And if you in here, there's a great deal of data. And let's say you're doing some research on Merck. You can search by the name of the company or by the ticker symbol. And Merck Pharmaceutical is a large pharmaceutical company. It's also in biotech and chemicals. But I know the symbol, and I know the symbol is MRK, and I'm going to hit Enter, and I'm going to click on Merck. That's the one I want. And in here, I can do a number of things. You always get a page like this, which sort of gives you a brief introduction to the company. But by way of these tabs, that's where it's really rich information. I mean, here are executives. You've got all the executive information, their compensation, and biographical information. So, Kenneth Frazier is the chairman. When you click on that, it's going to give you more information about his executive compensation. You've got ownership data here. You've got company financials. In company financials, it defaults to 5 years of balance sheet data. And you can click on Excel and you can export that, but we can do better than that. Let's switch that to quarterly. We can say, let's change it to income statement. And let's say we want 15 years. We could say actually go beyond, let's say 15 years. As reported currency, we could change that if we wanted to. Change the scale. We're going to keep it the way it is. And we're going to refresh. And now we've got 15 years of quarterly data from their income statement. And you can click download and it'll export this whole thing to Excel for you. Another feature in here are ratios. It calculates ratios for you. So we've got 15 years of quarterly ratios that have been calculated for you everything from total asset turnover, per share data. We've got liquidity ratios, profitability ratios. And what's very useful, I think, about this, working with the IBISWorld database I showed you a minute ago, is this will calculate the ratios for you, so you you know how the company is doing, and then you can compare it against the industry ratios that IBISWorld offers. So this is a great place to go. You can also get equity pricing. And here in equity pricing, you can get up to 30 years of daily stock price data if you choose. Here it's defaulting to 3 years. We could go out to 30 years if we wanted to. And if we wanted to, we could create a chart comparing Merck with other major pharmaceutical companies. We could also rebase it to 100 if we want, or to 0. We could also throw in an index, and then you just right-click and you save that and put it into your paper. So it's a very very useful database for doing company research, and some of the major features are company financials and equity pricing. So let me go back to the library here, and I always think the most important resource of the library, and we have a lot of good resources, is here in eLibrary Help, and it is the reference desk. And my job and the job of the librarians at the 24/7 service is to help you and help you succeed in school. And I'm offering my hand to help you, so you need to take it. And whenever you have a problem, please reach out so I can help you succeed at NECB. And again, welcome to the college. Thank you.